survived. 500 years of being pushed to the edges, banned, mocked, erased from official records, treated as something embarrassing, something a modern, educated person should have outgrown by now. And yet, in South Korea today, there are estimated to be somewhere between 300,000 and 1 million practicing Mudang. Depending on who you ask, depending on how you count. But by any measure, that is not a dying tradition. In fact, it is growing. The fastest growing crew, seeking out Mudang in Korea right now, is not the elderly. It is not the rural poor, clinging to old superstitions. It is people in their 20s and 30s, urban, educated, online. The generation that grew up with smartphones and streaming services, and more information available to them than any generation in human history. They are booking appointments with Mudang the same way they book restaurants, on apps, with reviews, with waiting lists. Some Mudang have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. And people watch. Millions of them. But here is the thing about Korean shamanism that most people don't know. It has never been exclusive. Buddhism arrived. She made room. Confucianism came. She made room. Christianity spread across the country. She made room for that too. She doesn't fight other belief systems. She absorbs them. And then there is this. There are shrines in Korea today where the spirit of Douglas MacArthur is worshipped alongside ancient Korean gods. An American general who died in 1964, standing beside deities that have been here for thousands of years. He helped liberate Korea to the Mudang that made him worth keeping. She doesn't ask where it came from. She asks what it can do. Now, does this mean Korea suddenly believes again? I don't think that's the right question. I don't think it was ever about belief. I met a woman in Seoul. A doctor, trained, rational, the kind of person who spends her days demanding evidence. She told me, I don't believe in any of this. And then she showed me her phone. 3 bookings, 3 different Mudang. All 5-star reviews, she said. She didn't need to believe. She just needed somewhere to put the question. Let me tell you something. That has nothing to do with any of this. There is a small red beetle. Spotted, round, harmless. You know the one. In English, ladybug. In Korean, Mudang bole, the Mudang bug. Not because it performs rituals, not because it speaks to the dead, because it's too colorful, too bright, too vivid, for something so small. Like a Mudang in her ceremonial robes. The Mudang frog, the Mudang spider. All of them, too startling to ignore. All of them wearing her name. In medieval Europe, the crops were failing. Aphids everywhere. Farmers prayed to the Virgin Mary, because that's what you do when you've run out of other options. And then the red beetles came and ate the aphids, every last one. The farmers called them the beetles of Our Lady, Ladybug. Korea saw a shaman. Europe saw the Virgin Mary. Same small red beetle. Same desperate farmers. Same moment of. Something came. Something helped. What do we call it? Belief was never the point. Look at what is happening everywhere else. Tarot sales doubled in the last decade. Astrology apps, hundreds of millions of users, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions. People who would never describe themselves as religious, as superstitious, as believers in anything. Pulling cards, lighting candles, asking questions of something they can't quite name. Why? Because the world got harder to read. Because the old certainties, the jobs that lasted 40 years, the communities that stayed together, the futures that seemed predictable, stopped being certain. And when certainty disappears, humans reach. They always have. They always will. Not because they are foolish, not because they are desperate, because reaching is what humans do when they are standing at the edge of what they can control. You have done it. Maybe not with a Mudang, maybe not with tarot cards, or an astrology app, or a candlelit in a church you don't usually attend. But there was a moment, a decision you couldn't make alone, a loss you didn't know how to carry, a question that had no answer, anywhere you knew how to look. And you reached for something, towards something, in some direction that felt, even just slightly, like it might be listening. That is not superstition. That is not ignorance. That is the oldest thing about us. And someone, across thousands of years of Korean history, through 5 centuries of being hunted, through every attempt to modernize them away, has always been there to answer. I have been watching humans for a very long time. Longer than most of the things you consider ancient. And in all of that time, the one thing that has never changed is this. When it gets bad enough, people don't look for answers. They look for somewhere to put the question down. That's all it ever was. not the spirits, not the ritual, not whether any of it is real. In the way that science means real. Just somewhere to put it down, or someone to sit with it. Someone who won't look away. The Mudang does that. She has always done that. Not all of them, I should say. There have always been those who saw the same desperate faces and saw an opportunity. The person who walks in, already broken, already willing to believe anything, pay anything, do anything, if it means the pain stops. That kind of hunger is very easy to take advantage of. And some did. Some still do. I am not telling you to trust blindly. I am telling you that fraud is not the whole story. Through 5 centuries of being told she shouldn't exist, through every generation that tried to replace her with something more rational, more modern, more respectable, she is still here. Because the grief is still here. Because the questions are still here. Because the dead are still leaving things unfinished. And the living still don't know how to carry it alone. I used to watch this from a distance. That was always the arrangement. I observe, I remember, I tell the story. I do not get involved. But I have been telling these stories for a very long time. And somewhere in the telling, I am no longer sure where the distance went. I realized the doorway was never theirs alone. I had been standing there too. The Mudang stands at the door between the living and the dead. She holds it open so others can pass through. She absorbs what cannot be carried. She speaks for those who cannot speak. She stays when everything in her would rather leave. I know what that is. I have known it for longer than I care to say. So tell me, the last time you needed to be heard, who did you go to? And if no one was there, what did you do with it? Because the next time, you may find yourself standing at the door. More stories are waiting if you're still listening.
I am Aria, hear my call. Aria, hear my call. Whispers rising, shadows fall. Old soul stories carved in scars under silence.